They are not only bad people, they're going to hurt you. So therefore, we want to keep them on that side of town. We want to keep their children in those schools over there. We don't want to work around them. We don't want to live around them, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that message comes through loud and clear in the way that media represents people of color. You know, whenever thinking about Tamir Rice, the 12-year-old child that was shot in Cleveland by police, when that happened, what did they do? The first news story in Cleveland that made a big splash was about Tamir Rice's parents and the history of domestic abuse and criminality among his parents, not about the cop that killed him. We talk worse about black victims than we do white killers. What did we say about Ted Bundy? Oh, he was so smart and he was so quiet and he always seemed so nice. Every time one of these white boys goes and shoots up a school, what do we say? We had no idea he was going to do this. So we talk better. We have more sympathy for white folks who commit mass murder, bury bodies under the house, cook them up in a soup pot and eat them, right? Than we do black folks who were killed by police. We start digging for every bad thing they ever did. We want to know if they had a juvenile record. We want to know if they'd ever been arrested. That's what the media does. And until that changes, I'm afraid white folks will stay in denial, and it'll be very hard for us to move forward, whether we're talking about cops or just average everyday folks.
And after Wise was through talking, the host would then go on to say,
we have a very diverse viewing audience. White folks comprise some of that viewing audience. Some of them might be sitting out there right now thinking that you don't like white folks.
Described as one of America's great public moralists, and amongst the 25 visionaries who are changing the world, Tim Wise was among the most prominent anti-racist writers and educators in the United States. He has spent the past 25 years speaking to audiences in all 50 states in the U.S.
So far, this colorblind response, this post-racial response that says, oh, let's not name that elephant. Let's not call out what it is we're seeing. Let's redefine it, right, is an extraordinarily dangerous gamble. And we see it at every turn. So when former President Carter made the point that some of that overt resentment was about race, you know, the president and all of his advisors rushed to dismiss that, even as obvious as it was that Carter was speaking the truth. They all said, oh, I'm sure that's not it. I'm sure they're just anxious about the economy. That's not credible. And for a president to say that, and for his handlers to say that, I'm anxious about the economy. Everyone in here is probably anxious about the economy, but I've never, as a result of my economic anxiety, felt the need to go get a sign with a picture of a president dressed in an African witch doctor costume with a bone through his nose and go to a rally as a way to try to find a job. Like, I'm unemployed and I'm upset and this is all I could think of. What? Right? It's not about that. It's about something else. And the fact that the president has to second guess he's the most powerful man in the world, arguably, but he can't even name what is obvious. He can't even call it out for what it is. You can't criticize an act of racial profiling by the Cambridge Police Department without being attacked. You know, when Henry Louis Gates got stopped by that officer for trying to break into his own house, and the officer wanted to know, do you live here? He lived there for 8 years. But the neighbor who first saw him and thought he was breaking in didn't recognize him. This man is 57 years old, walks with a cane.